Dr. Celine Vero stared into the pale blue glow of the observation dome's main viewport. Before her stretched the uncharted reaches of the Haldur galaxy, a sprawling tapestry of gas giants and neon nebulae where no human had ever set foot. Around her, the hum of the research vessel Aurora's Eye was almost hypnotic. The steady pulse of fusion reactors, the distant clicks of data relays, the soft hiss of life support systems. Yet beneath that veneer of calm, a current of unease wove through the crew. Legends of humanity were never spoken of openly in the Varak Collective. They were tucked away in forgotten archives or whispered in the hallways of aging starports, tales of a species that spanned galaxies, who forged empires from stardust and folly alike. Over the millennia, these accounts had dissolved into myth, as distant and unreal as the temperate seas of a vanished world. To most Varakians, humans were a literary device, cautionary spectres in holodramas, nothing more than morality tales. But the readings on Selene's console told a different story. A cluster of subspace rifts lay ahead, each shimmering like fractured ice in the vacuum. Their energy signatures matched nothing in the collective's tomes until she overlaid them with the scant data labeled Homo sapiens. The match was unmistakable. The pulsing harmonics, the dimensional frequencies, even the faint electromagnetic afterglow. Her heartbeat quickened. If these were indeed the marks of human technology, then the legends were far more than bedtime. "Stories! Commander Vero, you're certain of these readings?" asked Lieutenant Mara Threk, peering over Celine's shoulder. The lieutenant's antennae twitched in the low-gravity environment, betraying her own excitement. Celine tapped a holodisplay. "See for yourself. These rifts resonate at a frequency consistent with fold drive engines humans alone have ever mastered." She hesitated, then added in a lower voice, "And the residual isotope ratios? They implicate Earth-born alloys." Mara's eyes widened. "But that would mean human craft are out there," Celine finished. "Alive, waiting." Word of the discovery spread like wildfire through the Aurora's Eye. Crew members gathered at stations, sharing theories. Perhaps humanity had retreated to a parallel dimension or staggered into cryostasis during some cataclysm. Some speculated that an Earth remnant flotilla hovered just behind the rifts, biding its time. Higher command, however, resisted. Official communique warned against chasing legends, labeling Celine's theory reckless. Yet no one could ignore the data, and when the High Council ordered the dispatch of an investigative fleet, urgency overrode skepticism. The Varak Armada would venture into the Rift Cluster, mapping its boundaries and determining if the old stories held merit. As his final act before departure, Admiral Corel Saran invited Celine to join him aboard the flagship, Elysian Dawn. That night, Celine lay awake in her quarters, staring at the ceiling as the ship drifted on autopilot. Holographic star maps flickered in her vision, showing both the known galaxy and the unexplored frontier. Somewhere beyond, human secrets waited to be uncovered. The realization ignited a flutter of hope and dread in her chest. For if the humans were real, then so too were their legends of power and ruin, and Celine knew better than anyone what could happen when myths, long buried, suddenly came to life. The Elysian Dawn cut through space toward the Rift Cluster, its sleek hull reflecting the eerie violet glow that pulsed ahead. Dr. Celine Vero stood on the bridge beside Admiral Corel Saran, watching distortion waves ripple across the main viewer. Every tendon in her body hummed with anticipation. "Commander Threk reports 3 scouting corvettes lost to the Northern Rift," the Admiral intoned, his voice calm but grave. "We're stretched to the edge of protocol." Celine tapped. "A control pad, bringing up energy readouts. Those disappearances aren't random. The rifts generate localized subspace eddies, void tendrils that tear at hull integrity. but they also channel an unmistakable fold drive resonance. If we can synchronize our own engines to the pattern, we can stabilize a transit corridor. A murmur ran through the bridge crew. Varakians prided themselves on precision and caution. Few had ever even dreamed of bending their drive cores to alien frequencies. Admiral Saran met Celine's gaze and gave a subtle nod. "Proceed at your discretion, Doctor," he said. Celine returned to her station. Fingers dancing over the hollow keys, she overlaid the rift's spectral signature with the fragments of human engine schematics she'd reconstructed from the archives. The lines aligned in one fleeting moment of data convergence, myth and measurement. Merged. Engines synchronized, she announced, initiating phase calibration in 3, 2, 1. A collective shudder reverberated through the Elysian dawn. Outside, the three smaller rifts coalesced, their fractured surfaces merging into a singular, gaping maw. A fissure of purest indigo pulsed at the heart of the opening, framed by shifting crystalline lattices that defied known physics. "Hold steady," Admiral Saran ordered, voice barely above a whisper. Then they slipped through. A heartbeat later, the fleet tumbled out into an uncharted quadrant. The stars here were unfamiliar. Strange constellations drawn in pale green light, and there in the dead center of this hidden expanse loomed a fortress of colossal scale. Half buried in cosmic dust, the citadel's ramparts rose like the ribs of some gargantuan leviathan. Dry docks, massive enough to cradle continents, surrounded the central keep. Slumbering dreadnoughts lay moored in silent rows, their battle, scars etched into steel that had withstood no fewer than 1,000 engagements. Bio-locked maintenance bays peeked open, revealing rows of stasis chambers and skeletal flight crews suspended in amber-hued fluid. Lieutenant Threk's voice crackled over the comm. "Sensors confirm this entire installation is Earth origin. Isotope signatures match pre-collapse records of old Earth's metallurgy." A hush fell across the bridge. The Varak Collective had discovered countless ancient sites, but none spoke so directly of a sentient culture that had been presumed extinct for millennia. Admiral Saran broke the silence. "Open a secure channel to the Aurora's Eye. Tell Dr. Vero we have our proof and prepare for first contact protocols." Celine allowed herself a brief smile. After years spent piecing together scraps of legend, she stood on the threshold of living history. Yet as the Armada drifted closer to the silent docks, a new question loomed larger than any technical puzzle. What fate had befallen humanity here, and who or what would awaken when their ancient stronghold stirred once more? The air in the Elysian dawn's sensor bay crackled with static as Dr. Celine Vero reviewed the latest scans. Life sign readings rippled across her holo display, hundreds of bioware clusters in stasis, each one ghost-dimmed by centuries of dormancy. Engines deep within the dry docks emitted a low-frequency hum, an echo of power barely contained. The Varak collective fleet held its breath on the edge of the docks, marvel and dread intermingling in every hull. Lieutenant Mara Threk's voice cut the tension. "Doctor, the stasis field generators are cycling, power levels climbing at an exponential rate." Selena's heart pounded. "They're coming online. Prepare all decks for hull-to-hull communications, and alert the bridge." She hesitated, then added quietly, "If the legends are true, we stand on the brink of history or war." In the docks, unnoticed by the Varakians, a sudden pulse radiated from each dormant vessel. Vaulted hangar doors groaned as ancient hydraulics reawakened. A halo of ionized gas surrounded the flagship Prometheus Ascendant, its hull plates shimmering with a patina of age. Crew pods along its flank cracked open like crystalline cocoons, human figures slumped forward, limbs twitching as neural stimulators. Engaged, gasping through respirators, they blinked into the glare of alien stars. Across the Armada, comm channels flooded with alarms. Admiral Coral Saran's composed voice came through. "Hold your fire. Do not engage. Confirm we open a diplomatic channel." He turned to Celine. "They're ours to greet." Celine's fingers trembled as she keyed the transmission. "This is the Varrock Collective. You are among friends. Identify yourselves." A voice, deep, resonant, undeniably human, answered on every frequency, uncompressed and confident. "I am General Armand Reyes of the Earth Coalition. To those who doubted our existence, we extend both greeting and caution. We return not as myths, but as sentinels of our destiny." Silence fell. Then, from deep within the docks, dozens of human warships powered their gravimetric shields and thrummed with readiness. In the viewing ports, Varrakian officers watched the prow of the Prometheus Ascendant pivot toward them, its dreadnought cannons calibrated but unmanned. Dr. Vero exhaled, voice barely a whisper. "They've been waiting for allies or adversaries." Admiral Saran met her gaze. "Then let us prove we are the former." But as the armadas aligned, both sides felt the weight of countless stars bearing down. The line between alliance and conflict had never seemed so thin. The aftermath of first contact buzzed through both armadas like an electric charge. In the neutral zone between the Varrock docks and the human fortress, the two fleets drifted in tense formation under a canopy of unfamiliar stars. On the observation, deck of the Elysian Dawn, Dr. Selene Vero and General Armand Reyes met face to face, two pioneers at the threshold of a new era. Reyes, clad in the gleaming white and ochre armor of the Earth Coalition, offered a steady handshake. His eyes betrayed weariness, tempered by resolve. "Your people have shown great courage and restraint," he said, voice calm but earnest. "We did not emerge to conquer, we emerged to survive, and to find partners who share our hope for renewal." Admiral Coral Saran joined them, his Varrakian features softened by cautious optimism. "The High Council has long feared the power humans once wielded," he admitted. "But power, if guided by wisdom and tempered by trust, can rebuild what was lost. We wish to learn from you as you learn from us." Behind them, translators and diplomats worked feverishly to bridge 2 millennia of cultural drift. A holographic table materialized between the leaders, displaying schematics of human fold-drive engines and Varrock collective trade routes. Terms were negotiated: safe passage through Varrock space, shared use of the stasis hibernation bays, exchange of scientific knowledge in return for mineral rights and star chart data. As the treaty parameters solidified, Celine observed a spark of something rare in both the human and Varrakian delegations: hope. Gone was the dread that had gripped her when the first dreadnought rumbled alive. In its place burned the promise of joint exploration. That evening, a joint celebration filled the Prometheus Ascendant's grand atrium. Bioluminescent flora from Varrakian worlds entwined with holographic art of Earth's lost continents, and music, an eclectic fusion of human chords and Varrakian rhythms, resonated through the halls. Sailors and scientists mingled, sharing stories of supernovae and subsistence farming, of alien fauna and ancient Terran myths. Yet as laughter echoed beneath twin moons projected on the dome, Celine felt a subtle shift in the air. Through her instruments, she detected a faint disturbance at the edge of the fortress's sensor grid, an irregular pattern in the cosmic dust far beyond the docks. It pulsed with the same signature as the rifts they had crossed. Frowning, she slipped away from the revelry and tapped into the private comlink. "Admiral," she said softly, "I'm picking up something unusual. It might be nothing, but I'd advise we investigate before we proceed deeper." Moments later, Saran's reply crackled in her ear. "Understood. We'll prepare a reconnaissance team at first light." Selene gazed out at the human armada, its warships gleaming like guardians in the void. Allies now, yet allies against what? The galaxy was vaster and more unpredictable than any myth. As the two civilizations toasted their new pact, a silent question hung between them. What other legends lay waiting, and would they too prove friend or foe? In the hush of space, under a sky uncharted and uncertain, the true journey was only beginning.